Hello, everyone, and welcome to Polymathy Guide. So, this is video 8 in our beginner Excel series, and we're nearing the end in our first 10 videos, which is the extent of our basic Excel course. And I would be remiss if I didn't teach you um, likely the most valuable formula in Excel. And that formula is if. And there's many versions of if. The ones we're going to cover today are often the most utilized forms of if. That is if, sum if, count if, and if error. So I'll get started. If you want to follow along and doodle on your own spreadsheet, by all means, open a blank Excel workbook. The dates, the numbers, the words here, it's all arbitrary. It's simply something to give us some material to play around with. So the first thing we'll do is we'll explore the if statement. If you're not familiar with the if statement is, or it's an if then statement. Um, and so what it proposes is, um, if this logical scenario is true, I want you to do this. If not, I want you to do that. Okay. So if this, then that. And so when we go to write the if statement, because it's a formula, we always start it with equals. We'll write if and open parenthesis. And so you can see here in the help box underneath that there's three parts to this formula. There's the logical test, there's the value if true, and the value if false. So the first thing it wants to know is, what is the question that you're asking? And this must be able to be answered in a true false way. So, for example, we'll use this cell that has the word red in it. If, open parenthesis, this cell equals, and because I'm going to cite words here, text, I need to wrap it in quotations. If cell D5 equals red, and then we're going to advance to the next portion of the formula. So again, this is our logical test. Does the cell D5 equal red or not? Equal the word red. So if D5 equals red, comma, to advance to the next portion of the formula, what do you want me to write if it's true? So if D5 equals the word red, I want Excel to put, and because I want it to put a word in this case, I'm going to put it in quotes, bad. So if cell D5 equals the word red, I want you to write the word bad. And if not, so comma to the final part of the formula, I want you to write good. And then close parenthesis, and that's our formula. So if cell D5 equals the word red, write the word bad. If not, write the word good. So we'll press enter. And there, cell D5 does in fact say the word red. And so it has written the word bad. If we made this some other word, like blue, it would write the word good. So it's following the instructions of our formula. Now you can see we can write red with a capital R, exactly as we wrote it here in our formula, or we can write it with a lowercase r. When you're looking for text or comparing text in this type of scenario, it is not case sensitive. But because all of our other words are capitalized and this one's not, and you don't want to see me have an aneurysm, we're going to capitalize it just for the sake of uniformity. Okay, so again, our formula, if cell D5 equals the word red, which it does, write the word bad. If not, write the word good. Now, for an if statement, the value if false is not mandatory. So we could simply just leave it blank. We do need to put the comma here, but we don't need to put anything after the comma. So I can just close the parenthesis, press enter. It's red, it says bad. And if it's not red, um, you'll see that Excel will return a 0. There we go. So if it is the thing that we're looking for, put the word bad. If not, I don't care what you do, and Excel will fill that in with a 0. Okay. If, ironically, when discussing an if statement, if you wanted it to return a blank if it doesn't match your criteria, then you would simply put 2 quotes there. And doubled up quotation marks is Excel's version of blank. And what it's really doing is, you can see here, because it's text, we say, I want you to write the thing that's between these quotation marks. And so here we're basically saying the same thing without putting anything in between the question or the quotation marks. So we're saying, I want you to write nothing. And so that's what double quotes does. And so if instead of red, this was green, it would just throw blank. Now, when in a lot of other formulas, this will suffice as a blank cell. Um, some forms of count and sum, and you'll come across it. Some ranged formulas will recognize that there is text in here, because there really is text in here, rather than just reading the result of the formula that's there. um, 9 times out of 10, having it do a blank, um, in order to register a blank, that's completely sufficient. Elsewhere, we might want to have it register as an error, like a hashtag or pound symbol, n/a. We might want it to do that. And in those sort of things, where the blank cell is not working for our particular purpose, we can get it to ignore errors. So I think, okay, that's enough about just plain if. Um, we can also, it's not just words. You know what? That's not enough about if. There's so much about if, you guys. All right, it's not enough about if. So let's now work with, say, a number. If this number is greater than, say, 10, I want you to do 10. If not, I want you to do 0. Okay, close parenthesis. There we go. And so we can see that if instead of 12, if instead of 12, this was a 6, it would register a 0. And if it was a 199, it'd register a 10, because it's following this logical expression. C5, the number here is greater than 10, do 10. If not, do 0. Okay. So that's how we do text, and that's how we do numbers. Now, when we get to dates, um, it's maybe counterintuitive. I don't know. If this is your first time with an if statement and you're watching what we've discussed so far, you would think that I could say, if this is greater than, say, January 01/01/2026. If it's greater than January 1st, 2026, uh, do a 1. If not, do a 0. Close parenthesis, press enter, we get a 1. So, okay, great. Now let's go to one where we would get a 0. If this cell is greater than January 1st, 2026, give me a 0. No, it's still a 1. So we can, of course, highlight portions of our formula, like this logical expression, or we can click on this, that, and you can see it throws up the result of that portion of the formula above your formula, which will help you diagnose. So it says logical test. It says B6 is greater than January 1st, 2026. Well, that's not true, right? So what's the problem here? Well, the problem is we have to inform. Ultimately, what's going on here is Excel is reading this as 1 divided by 1 divided by 2026. That's how Excel is reading this. And so we need to explain to Excel that this is a date. And so we're going to say date, open parenthesis, and then we need to write the date in the date format, which is year, month, day. So we'll say 2026, comma, 01, comma, 01, close parenthesis. There we go. So press enter. So now we're getting a 0 because B6 is not greater than January 1st, 2026. So we get a value, if false, is 0. And just to confirm, we can change our reference cell to this one, and we get a 1. March 12th, 2026 is in fact greater than that date. So there's just some nuance when dealing with the contents of different cells, be it text, number, date. So text, always wrap in quotation marks. Date, always tell Excel that the thing that you're looking at is a date. Um, and numbers you can pretty much treat as just their native state. Um, Numbers, currency, well, American currency, anyways. The dollar. Um, I I assume it's the same for all other nations' currency. I don't know. This is the only type of Excel that I'm familiar with. So, okay, are we good there? I think so. So, play around with the if statement. If this, or write your logical statement, and if that statement is true, do this. If the statement is false, do that. And when you're doing if true, do this, you can do a word. If false, you can do a number. This is a completely different section of the formula, so they don't have to be in the same um, format, so to speak. Okay, we're good on the basic if. Now let's get to SUMIF. So SUMIF is where we have the sum of a range based on a criteria. So we'll start this formula as with all formulas equals sum if, and we'll open parenthesis. And so it starts out with what range am I looking for my criteria? And so in this particular instance, let's say we want to sum this column with all the numbers in it. If the word here is blue, right? So it wants to know what is the range we're looking for the criteria. The criteria is the word blue. So that would be this column. And so you can see we're now getting into the previous video where we discussed ranges and how that address presents itself. So SUMIF, if in column D5 to D11, and then we're going to go comma to advance to the next portion of the formula, the criteria, if what in this column? If the word in that column equals blue. And because it's text, we're going to wrap it in quotes. So if in this column the word is blue, comma, sum this range. All right, and there's our other range address, C5 to C11. And then we're going to close parenthesis. Now, your ranges need to be the same, right? If the range that you're looking for your criteria in is D5 to 11, the sum range needs to be 5 to 11. Otherwise, Excel's going to lose its mind and it's not going to be happy with you. It's not going to play nice. And then we're going to be perpetuating the myth that Excel is scary and only for certain folks. Let's not do that. So just make sure that when you're sum ifing, count ifing, any of those if statements which incorporate a criteria, that on both sides that your ranges are the same, 5 to 11, 5 to 11. Now, of course, the columns will be different because that's the nature of the formula, but make sure that the range size is the same. All right, enough on that soapbox. So we close parenthesis, and again, sum if in this column, the word is blue, sum everything in this column. Okay, close parenthesis, we press enter, we get 188. If we look at all the blue, let's see, we have 3 blue cells. So we'll click and hold the control button and click to select those 3 cells. We see, excuse me, we see down here, we get a sum of 188. 188, that's exactly what we get, and that's exactly what we wanted. Now, here's what's great about a sum if or a count if. You can basically move your criteria external from the formula. And I'll show you that now. So here we've written the word blue, but instead we could write this cell. So if this column has whatever's in this cell, then sum this column. Enter. And now we could write blue. We get 188. We could write red. We get 206. Let's just double check. Sure enough, 206. We could write yellow. And we could write green. No, tried to get Excel. Can never get Excel. Excel always knows there is no green. Okay, so we'll go back to blue. All right. So there we've basically now made a semi-dynamic cell. And, the word dynamic is used quite differently in all places of the internet and Excel forums and all that stuff. But my interpretation is of dynamic essentially is the same as automated, in that something is happening on its own when some variable changes. So here we change the variable of the criteria, for example, to red, and this cell changes on its own. Is it dynamic? Yeah, kinda like the most basic form of dynamic. But if you are brand new to Excel and you're doing stuff like this, um, you're good. You're good, right? Oh, I'm new to Excel. I'm not very, da, da, da. But you can basically export your criteria in a sum if function to to a cell where somebody can just type a name, or they could type um, an employee ID number or something like that, and then get the results of some other. Right, you're already value add there. That's value add. So again, that's sum if. Again, it looks for a column in which criteria will exist. It wants to know the criteria, and then it wants to know, once I found the criteria, what do you want me to add together? And you'd say this column here. Okay, so that's sum if. All right, let's get rid of that. COUNTIF. So COUNTIF equals COUNTIF, open parenthesis. And so this is a singular range of cells. In the SUMIF, we said the criteria is here and the sum range is here. COUNTIF is just one range. So it wants to know what's the range here, and then what's the criteria. So comma to advance to the next part of the formula. And we can say blue, close parenthesis, 3. Oh, but Kelly, you said count only ever cares about numbers. Yeah, I know. I know. I don't know why COUNTIF suddenly recognizes things other than numbers. But suffice it to say, count and COUNTIF are wildly different. They're different. They look the same. They're different. So COUNTIF, we can look for words. We can change the our reference column, and instead of a word, um, we can look for a number. COUNTIF, everybody that's got the number 7. There's one of them. Now let's see. Do we have 2 of something in here? Let's do. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to this guy here. So, Excel, why do you hate me? Okay. So let's say we have a word or a part of a statement, or a part of a phrase. This column is messy with text, let's say. And here maybe you have blue fin, and here we have blue bird. But what we really care about is blue. We can say blue hyphen dog, right? And then we'll do a true, just blue here. Okay, great. So in this column, we don't have to have the specific text that you're looking for. We can look for part of text. And for that, of course, we're still looking for text, so we're going to wrap it in quotation marks. But then we're also going to wrap it in asterisk. So we'll say anything can come before blue, and then another asterisk. Anything can come after. So what we're looking for is blue. Anything can come before or after the word blue. Just count the things with the word blue in it. And so here we get 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now let's say red, blue. Not really a word, but we're letting it flow today. Now, instead of anything can come before or after, let's say that anything can come before blue, but let's remove that trailing asterisk. That's a tough word for me. I don't know why. I think my tongue doesn't work like that. Anyways, we're saying anything can come before the word blue, but nothing after. If something comes after the word blue, it doesn't count. That's not what I'm looking for. So we'll leave the asterisk before asterisk. I'm done, guys. I don't. Just gonna have to work through it. Anything can come before the word blue. Nothing can come after. How many of those are there? Just one. This made up red blue that we have. Okay. And that works with any time you're citing text, by putting the multiplication sign, and that's what I'm going to be calling it from now on because I have such a hard time pronouncing the other word. Yeah, that works, which is great because text a lot of times is messy. And so that bails us out of a lot of jams in which we're trying to count things. So, COUNTIF. Yeah, that's good. We can, of course, count numbers. We can do greater or less than. Or we can do equals to, but honestly, equals to, you would just write the number. And then dates, same thing. Just make sure that Excel knows that what you're looking for is date, and then write it in the appropriate date format. Okay, so if, SUMIF, COUNTIF, extremely useful. It's gonna take you from zero to novice hero in a heartbeat if you get really good with these formulas. And honestly, if you can master an if statement, man, I feel like everything else is downstream of an if statement in Excel. It gets more crazy, and it gets all nested together with other ifs, and then a pair of some ifs and whatever, but it's all still if. Mostly. Again, if you can master if, you're like halfway through Excel. But again, you got to be able to master if. Okay, let's get rid of this. Now let's talk about if error. So let's do A, B, 23, 28, 87, 91, and 0. Okay. So now I'm going to write a simple sum formula. And we covered sum, not in the last video, but the previous video where we talked about ranges. So equals sum, and this is simple addition, open parenthesis. I want you to sum this cell, and I'm going to hold control button and select the other cell, and then I'm going to close my parenthesis, and I want it to give me the answer. And then I'm going to grab my fill handle and I'm going to drag it down. And oh my goodness, it's put it all in date format. Sometimes Excel just makes you work, folks. So let's force this error. I thought that putting a letter there would force the error, but perfect. Let's make this an error as well. Okay. So if for whatever reason our formula is netting an error, and instead of an error, we want it to be something else, then in that formula, we can write if error, open parenthesis, and we're basically going to um, grab our formula and we're going to say if sum C5 and E5 equals error, do something else. We could do 0, we could do blank, we could do problem over here. But of course that's text, so we have to wrap it in quotes. And then just close our parentheses. So it's very easy. If error, do this. That's it. Right? If it's not an error, it's just going to do the formula. But if the sum of the if the result of the formula is an error, it's going to result to this if error statement. So if that results in an error, it's going to go problem over here. Press enter. There we go. Now we know where to address our data set. And of course, if we grab the fill handle and we double click to fill down automatically, there we go. Now you've highlighted where you have problems in your data set, right? Maybe resulting in an error is not an issue. Maybe this is, maybe this column is sales, and maybe certain people don't have sales, and the default for the system is to produce this error symbol, hashtag or pound sign NA. That's not a problem necessarily. So maybe it's not a problem. Maybe instead of problem over here, we just want it to, like, don't worry about it. Just ignore it. Just do a blank. And so we can tell it to do a blank any instance in which there is an error. So that's how we do if error. And you can wrap any formula around an if error. Or, excuse me, reverse that. You can wrap if error around any formula, right? It's very simple. You just proceed it with if error, open parenthesis, go all the way to the end of that formula, throw a comma, and then throw what you want Excel to put there if the result is an error. Okay? It's good, man. If, sum if, count if error. If you master those 4 if statements, you're going to be well on your way. And if you become proficient with these statements, I mean, this is like half the Excel game, right? It only gets big brain from here on out. So master the if statements. It's going to serve you well. And that's it for this video. We've got more fun stuff coming up. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, please drop a like. If you know somebody that could benefit from this video or benefit from this beginner's course in Excel, by all means, forward my video, forward my channel. I sure would appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.